information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. 48 hours away. 48 little hours away from the National Football League draft. Thursday night, Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Jaguars, as of now, hold the 5th pick in round number 1. Again, that's just going to be 10% of the story, right? They got 10 draft picks in total over Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But, of course, all eyes are on that number 5 overall selection. And, boy, the rumors, the smoke screens, everything that you hear about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is it Mason Graham? Is it Ashton Jeanty? Is it Ted McMillan? Jalen Walker? Tyler Warren? Are they going to trade up? Are they going to try to trade back? Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle out of the University of Texas. There's a lot to get into. Won't bury the lead. Eric Dillard, you know him as Dilla on social media. My man Dilla joins me in less than 15 minutes, right about 8:15 tonight. He's got some rumors, some things that I think you will be interested in. Dilla bombs, if you will. So we'll have Eric Dillard, Dilla on social media coming up here in less than 15 minutes. Also, my man Rick Saratella. He is with All Access Football and the NFL Draft Bible. Rick has been doing this 2+ decades. He's got one of the most comprehensive pre-draft guides available. Rick will join me to put the finishing touches on his thoughts about what the Jaguars may or may not do. That conversation with Rick Saratella of the NFL Draft Bible and All Access Football comes up in about 35 minutes or so. We got Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network later on tonight here on Hacker After Dark. So as you can imagine, being 48 hours out, it's basically going to be all Jaguars all the time until Roger Goodell walks across that stage Thursday evening in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
First and foremost, before we dive into some draft thoughts, before we get Eric Dillard, Dilla on social media up here in about 10, 15 minutes or so, we are givers here on Hacker After Dark. We give back to you, the hard-working men and women of Northeast Florida. After a hard day at work, you're driving home, you're at the house, you're watching us on the stream, you're listening to us on the app, wherever you are, we do like to give back because we absolutely appreciate it. And Denmark, what do we have for the good folks this evening?
I got a pair of tickets for the Shrimp. They're playing Gwinnett from now until Sunday. So if you want to go see them play, hit me up at 641-1010.
A pair of tickets to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. If you want to go see them anytime between now and this weekend, in honor of the Jaguars having the 5th overall pick, we will take caller 5 right now, 641-1010, 641-1010 to caller 5, and Dylan Denmark will hook you up with a pair of tickets to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. All right, where are we when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Well, I'm not sure if anybody really knows where we are when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think we know Cam Ward is going number 1 to Tennessee. As of this morning, we had a pretty good idea that Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter were going to be picks 2 and 3 in some order, and we assume that Will Campbell is going to be pick number 4 to New England. That was as of this morning. And then, of course, last night and this morning, all eyes were on Jacksonville and pick number 5. So where are we now? Well, Peter Schrager of ESPN, formerly the NFL Network, comes out earlier today and says that Cleveland and New York are entertaining calls, are receiving offers for teams that want to move up for either Abdul Carter, for Travis Hunter, or for Ashton Jeanty. You got Brian Baldinger coming out an hour ago, basically putting a tease out there on his social media account that he believes a, quote, blockbuster trade inside the top 5 is going to happen before Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Would that involve the Jacksonville Jaguars? Look, at today's time, 48 hours before the draft, it's all about you doing your due diligence, right? It's all about crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and your lowercase J's, as they said in the Great Wayne's World. You want to take care of all of that. You want to don't leave any stone unturned, right? So I wouldn't doubt that Jacksonville has called, because 5 is not really a great spot to be in. And we've talked about that the entire process. It really sucks that Jacksonville swept Tennessee last year. Maybe that's Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke's lasting revenge on this franchise. Because if you don't sweep Tennessee last year, you're picking in the top 3. And if you lose both of those games, you're picking number 1. But they did sweep Tennessee last year, so here we are. So at 5, if Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are gone, which they will be, is there value at 5, right? If you don't think Mason Graham's the guy, and there is real conversation about whether the Jaguars do or not right now, is Ashton Jeanty worth 5? Is Tedera McMillan worth 5? What about Jalen Walker? What about Tyler Warren? You know, as we mentioned last night, think about this for a second, okay? Tyler Warren, Ted McMillan, Ashton Jeanty, Jalen Walker, that's 4. All right. Then you could go to Armand Membo and or Kelvin Banks. I'll include both of them. That's 6 and 7. That's 7 guys you can just rattle off. I think I skipped one, but you get the point. There's 7 guys that you can just rattle off that you would be okay, I guess, with the Jaguars taking. But they could get one of those 7 at pick 10 or 11. They don't need to take one of those 7 at pick 5. So if you can't trade up, you try to trade back. And if you can't trade with anybody and you're stuck at 5, well, then what do? I've been on the Mason Graham train for a long time. I've been on the Mason Graham train for weeks and months on end, and I haven't wavered. I think Mason Graham should be the pick here. I think it would help. I've said repeatedly it would be the boring pick. It would be the non-glamorous selection. But I think it would help this football team. In the same token of Mason Graham being boring and non-glamorous, well, you can basically say the same thing about an offensive lineman at 5. Now, I think Will Campbell is probably gone to New England at 4. So that brings in Armand Membo of Missouri and Kelvin Banks of Texas. Are those guys worth the 5th pick? Well, Banks probably isn't. Membo, there's a question there. But if one of those guys is your guy, right? Whether it's Banks, whether it's Membo, whether it's Mason Graham, you know, spread it out to Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, Ashton Jeanty. Are those guys worth number 5? That's debatable, right? But guys, if you can't trade up and you can't trade back, well, guess what? You have to give Roger Goodell a name on Thursday night when the number 5 pick is on the clock. You can't just say, nobody's worth this selection, to heck with it. Well, that doesn't really work that way. You got to pick somebody. So if they're stuck at 5, they're probably going to overdraft somebody in the eyes of draft pundits, you, the fans. The Jaguars, from that standpoint, are not in a very good spot. But that doesn't mean they cannot get a very good player. I think Ashton Jeanty is in play, but I don't think he's the number one choice. I think McMillan is in play, but I don't think he's the number one choice. I still think it's going to be on the line of scrimmage. I know the Mason Graham stuff is wavering right now. I'm even wavering on it. That's still where I am, hanging by a fingernail. Talk to me tomorrow night about that one. But I think offensive line still is very much in play, which just like Mason Graham might not be the sexiest pick, won't get you calling for season tickets on Friday morning, but it would help this football team. Trevor Lawrence can have the greatest wide receivers and running backs on the planet. If he's on his back, if he's getting concussed and breaking, ribs and knee issues and ankle issues like the last couple of years, well, then nothing else matters. Right? It's boring, whatever you want to call it. Trevor Lawrence needs to be protected. That's why, to me, offensive line is very much in play. I'm still a Mason Graham guy at 8:11 Eastern Standard Time on the 22nd day of April. Talk to me in 24 hours because I'm hanging on by a thread with Mason Graham. I'm starting to tilt in the offensive direction, but not a skill position guy. I'm beginning to tilt more on the offensive line. We got a terrific guest lineup tonight. We're going to begin with Eric Dillard. You know him as E. Dilla on social media. Look, it's always Dilla's time of year, but let's be honest. If you're on social media, you know who E. Dilla is, all right? Draft time is his time of year. Often imitated, never duplicated, is what I say about Eric Dillard. And E. Dilla joins us next. It's a pretty in-depth conversation. We're going to get into all the nuances of Mason Graham, Ashton Jeanty, Tet McMillan. Is there a surprise at 5? I think you will be surprised by some of the things Dilla has to say. He joins me next on a Tuesday night in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Start your day with a smile.
We sing and dance. Yeah,
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
My little buttercup has the sweetest smile.
Together they are The Drill.
It's like we got another show to do.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Great.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Plumbing problem? AC acting up? Septic tank trouble? Don't waste time calling 3 different companies. Just call Duck Rooter. We offer plumbing, septic, and air conditioning services, making it easy for you to work with one trusted company and one simple bill. Every department has highly skilled experts trained for the job. For fast, reliable service from a company that does it all the right way, call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
I open the door and take you inside the locker room to get you closer to the field, the players and coaches you care about.
Get a look at Hayes' blog on 1010XL.com.
My blog is brought to you by Roland Reese Plumbing,
where quality and experience count.
Mia here. People typically start and end their day by visiting their closet. So shouldn't that space feel calm, organized, like a little moment of luxury? That's why I chose Closets by Design. They specialize in custom solutions for every lifestyle and budget. Call them this week to schedule your free in-home consultation and get 40% off plus another 15% off and free installation. Don't wait for mom to do it. Call now at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound and Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
If you're ready to transform your yard with a fence that stands out, elevate your curb appeal with Superior Fence and Rail. Superior takes pride in offering first-class service, friendly installers, and unmatched fence products. Mention this ad and get $250 off your next project. It's time to get off the fence and call today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are 48 hours away from the NFL draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 10 picks in total. And, of course, all eyes are on that number 5 overall selection that will be made on Thursday evening. Let's talk Jaguar draft. Let's talk about what they may do, what they may not do, and let's do it with E. Dilla. Eric Dillard, you know him as E. Dilla on social media, and Dilla's always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Dilla, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Man, life's good. Started a new little role at work, so that's all exciting and fun, but I am thrilled that the draft is here. Excited to see what the Jaguars and their new front office does.
You know, it's interesting, Dilla, the way it stands right now, it appears the draft, the intrigue of the draft might actually start at number 5. First and foremost, there were reports out this morning that Cleveland at 2 and the Giants at 3 are, quote, taking calls from teams that want to trade up into those spots. Will anything materialize? Who really knows? It's smokescreen season. Do you feel the Jaguars potentially are one of those teams making those calls?
So ironically, I heard yesterday that they were indeed talking to Cleveland, but I think the bigger thing to note is that the Jaguars don't want to pick at 5. They either want to go up and get the premier guys in the draft or add, draft picks later on and then get those guys who maybe they should draft between like 8 and 15 that they might get pigeonholed into drafting at 5.
Well, all right, now that's interesting. So if they were to go up, all right, let's start there. Is that Travis Hunter? Is that your understanding?
So what I understand is that two of the three, we're not going to count Shad Khan as the football decision maker. 2 of the 3, Baselli, Cohen, and Gladstone. 2 of them like Hunter, and then Gladstone himself is huge on Carter. But it does sound like, that was a big question early on. What would happen when there's a disagreement? It seems like the 2-to-1 is true. So if they did go up via trade, it would be for Travis Hunter.
So I guess my question, and it's almost impossible to know, but I'm going to ask you anyway. I mean, what would that cost for the Jaguars to go from 5 to 2? I mean, that would be very, very expensive, I would imagine.
So, yeah, I think it would be expensive. And initially, I thought the Jaguars would never move up because you hear Gladstone talk about wanting to build through the draft. I didn't think that he would want to move those pieces to do so, but I think it kind of tells you how they feel about the players available at 5. But like back to your question, I was looking at the chart yesterday when I heard that the Jaguars were indeed calling the teams that are higher up in the draft. And it looks like it's 900 points. And to get 900 points, you have to flip a lot of those second round, third round picks this year and next year. I think it's completely unlikely still. But, when you're desperate and you want one of those players, maybe you're a little bit more flexible than I'm thinking they'll be.
Eric Dillard, you know him as Dilla on social media. All right, so they're talking, or at least you think they're talking about moving up. They are currently at 5. Let's begin with Ashton Jeanty if they stay at 5. Do you buy the Ashton Jeanty talk, or do you believe that smoke screens are afoot?
So I think that if they were stuck at 5, that there's a shot that it's Ashton Jeanty. I think the other person that they'll pick at 5 won't be Mason Graham, and it'll be a surprise. But I think it's going to be Banks, Kelvin Banks, the tackle out of Texas. Yeah. So that's going to, I think, ruffle some feathers, and I think he'll end up playing guard. I think that a lot of this stuff is complete smokescreen around Jeanty. I don't think that the Raiders actually want him either.
All right, so that's interesting. And it's interesting you say Banks, too, because I've heard something similar. I think the Jaguars have Banks maybe higher than some other teams do. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's the way I understand it. They have him as their O-line 2. They have Campbell number 1, Banks 2, and then Membu is 3rd. A lot of teams might have Membu 1st or 2nd, but the Jaguars do not, from what I understand.
So if they stay at 5, just to reset, Kelvin Banks is an option at 5. You do think Jeanty is potentially an option at 5, or you think the Jaguars will not go in that direction?
I do think that he is an option at 5 because when we're talking about them feeling like they're pigeonholed, I do think that you're more likely to take a running back who's considered blue chip at 5 when you're feeling stuck than – you know what I mean? The traditional, don't overdraft your running back theory. So that's why I do think it's possible. I am also, aligned with what you're seeing from Schefter today, that it doesn't feel like Mason Graham anymore, which is really crazy because he was kind of slotted there the whole time and it was kind of boring and assumed. But as we've gotten closer, I was telling someone, as you get closer to the draft, the buzz around the players that you think you're going to end up drafting or, you'll be picking from is usually really high. There's just been no chatter on him outside of now people saying, I don't think he is the guy.
Eric Dillard, Dilla on social media with us here on Hacker After Dark. All right, to Mason Graham. Like you said, Dilla, it's been Mason Graham forever. That appears to be cooling down, as you mentioned. Why do you think that is? Was it never Mason Graham in that building, and that was just a thought outside the building?
It's a great question, and I don't have an answer in terms of like what I heard, but I know that with him not testing like they wanted him to, their concerns grew. I don't know if that's why they, moved off or why the national attention is moving off of it. But when you see a player who wins with his quick twitch and he has good hands, but then he doesn't want to do any of the, explosion-related tests, I think that they are extremely concerned with that, especially when you're picking, like we're talking about, top 5.
Now, Dilla, the Ted McMillan talk was almost non-existent for the last couple of weeks after he was one of the main guys we talked about, say, in January and February, and then all of a sudden Todd McShay comes out on Monday and says, well, McMillan and Jacksonville, there may be something there again. What's your understanding when it comes to McMillan?
From what I understand, the Jaguars are not interested in Ted McMillan. If they went receiver, say they traded back or even stuck at 5, it's really weird because you haven't seen it linked at all, but I think Golden is who they prefer at receiver. I personally think Golden's going to go to the Cowboys at pick 12. I heard a long time ago. They're big fans on him. But again, when it comes to like the mock stuff, that's all it'll take is the Jaguars taking Banks, and it blows everyone's mock draft out of the water. And then all the groupthink kind of goes with it.
The Banks talk is certainly legitimate because I've heard that as well, and that would be fascinating to see what the reaction here in Jacksonville would be if they do draft Kelvin Banks at 5 on Thursday night. Couple more for Eric Dillard, Dilla on social media. All right, Dilla, I'm just going to throw some rapid-fire guys at you. Give me a thought. Jalen Walker from Georgia, how much is he in play?
So they love him. You saw it all over the place. He won big time in interviews, but he's an off-ball linebacker, in my opinion, who can play edge. I don't think he's an actual edge. So are you really trying to draft, a rotational guy who could be deemed a project at 5? From what I understand, it doesn't seem likely at 5. Like I said, though, the Jaguars don't want to pick at 5. So they can get out. I think they're the players they want. That pool grows so much larger. And then once they get to that, anything's possible.
Well, let's go back to that. So they've called to make calls potentially with Cleveland at 2, but if that doesn't materialize and they're stuck at 5, are they then hoping that Jeanty is there in hopes that, say, a Chicago at 10 or a Dallas at 12 may call them to move in front of the Raiders?
So yes, I think that was initially their plan. Like, let's drum up this interest, get someone above the Raiders at 6 to take Jeanty. But I was talking to some guys who work in like Boston sports media yesterday, and they have connections to Tom Brady. And they told me that even if Jeanty's there at 6, that the Raiders aren't going to take him, that they actually want to go M'Boue. In that the Bears, I was talking to some guys in in Chicago. They say that the Bears have zero interest in trading up. They want to draft at 10. And they believe that Jeanty or their second guy is Banks will fall to them. They believe that they'll get one of the two at 10. And that all of that is just the fire, smoke screens that really aren't what the front offices are doing. It's just a lot of, media play.
Boy, fascinating. And if it's not Jeanty, was there anybody else that you think might garner interest for a team to trade into 5 outside of Ashton Jeanty?
I don't think so. I think Will Campbell has to be available at 5. So maybe they can get, they're hoping someone will trade up to 4 with New England and not take Campbell, and then Campbell falls to him at 5. Because they do have Campbell as their OT or O-line 1, because I think whoever they take offensive line is going to end up playing guard in year 1. I'm not sure what you think about that. But I do think that they'll slot into guard. So I think Banks, even as a tackle, he'll never become a tackle. He'll end up being a guard. 5 is rich for a guard, but it makes sense when you hear that the Jaguars, they really don't want to pick 5, which is why I think maybe desperation gets them to throw Cleveland more and pull off a trade. But I do think trading up that high is just not very likely at the same time.
If they take Banks at 5, do you envision him replacing Ezra Cleveland then at left guard?
Yeah, I do. I think left guard is the open spot. I mentioned it a while back that while Ezra was in Minnesota, our new offensive coordinator was there too. So I could see there being a collective, like, that's not our guy. We know exactly what we have in Ezra Cleveland. But in the same way that Ezra's not their guy, you could say Walker Little is not their guy too. So I wouldn't be shocked if he played tackle, but I think Banks' talent and his measurements, we'll see him all as a guard.
Final moments with Eric Dillard. All right, Dilla, you got your pulse on the fan base, man. You're kind of the guy to ask. What would the reaction be if it's Kelvin Banks at 5 on Thursday night?
I think people will be pretty upset, naturally. I mean, when you think of drafting offensive linemen early, it's kind of boring. So, like, I understand that. But when it's, November and Trevor Lawrence's butt's not on the ground, I think people will be thrilled with it. Like, kind of like if you think about last year and the year before, I don't really remember who got picked right before or right after the Jaguars. All I know is last year we got a stud, and it didn't matter who went around us. And the year before and years before that, when they're not as good, you're like, dang, I wish we picked someone better. But you don't really look at it in the sense of, like, if they had just drafted this other guy, because we all know that they're puzzle pieces, and the puzzle pieces don't fit the same way in every franchise. I think it's something everyone should remember. But I do think they'll be kind of bummed out. I think a lot of people are on the Jeanty wagon. I think that a lot of people wanted Jeanty early on, and then this smokescreen speculation has really pushed the interest. So I think that when we don't take Jeanty, even if we did take another, skill player in quotes, folks will be a little bit bummed out.
As we wrap up, anything to Tyler Warren? I know there's a little bit of talk about him.
If it's Tyler Warren, it would be a complete shock to me. They didn't meet with him at the Combine. None of their informal meetings have been with him. And that's coming from the people who rep him. There's been zero communications with the Jaguars.
All right, very interesting. And then finally, I want to get a actual pick from you on number 5 in a moment. But finally, Dilla, they got a high second rounder. They got 2/3 and 2/4. Any chance that Jacksonville, if maybe a receiver starts falling or something along those lines, may trade back into the end of the first round?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch the whole first round because, like you said, they have so much ammunition on day 2. I mean, you're looking at how they've got, 5 picks in the top 101, something like that. I absolutely think that they would love to shed, some of the fat at the end of the draft to move up and get more premium prospects. But they say this draft is great, from about pick 30 to pick 112. So maybe they want to sit at home and add to it. I do think, though, that, you got a couple guys like the receiver out of Ohio State, Egbuka. If he's there, I know Walter Nolan has run up the board over the past couple of days, but if he's still sitting there towards the end of the first, I could see them moving for him also, especially if they don't go Graham at 5 overall.
All right, so let's assume Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Will Campbell are the first 4 off the board. Jacksonville stays at 5. They can't get out of there. If that's the case on Thursday night, are you saying it's going to be Kelvin Banks?
I think that that's what they would do. My want in that situation would be Jeanty as a fan. Like I said, I want the premier blue chipper running back. But I guess I'm kind of leaning towards Banks at 5 if they do get pigeonholed and Campbell's gone.
Wow, that would be fascinating. Dill, we certainly appreciate it, man. Let's reconnect next week after the draft. We'll see where the dust settled. We'll see how you think they fared. I know you're busy, man. Certainly appreciate you, brother. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate you, big dog, and go Jags. Let's hope they pull this thing off and build a squad down here in Duval.
There you go, Eric Dillard, Dilla on social media. Always thank him for his time with us here on Hacker After Dark. And what I like about that conversation, well, there's a lot of things, but it's different than what we've heard, right? I mean, I could bring on 1,000 draft analysts, and I think Denmark would attest I probably have in the last few months, one after another, and we love it. We love it. But, 75% of that was Mason Graham, and then you had your cup of coffee with Jalen Walker, and then you had your cup of coffee with Tet McMillan, and then there was the Armand Membo section of this roller coaster, and you go on and on and on to Tyler Warren. We haven't really had a Kelvin Banks conversation with Jaguar fans. And look, as I said earlier, if you're at 5 and you've maybe tried to trade up and it doesn't materialize, Cleveland wants too much, which they're going to want a ton, And if you try to trade back, but no one wants to come up for whatever reason, and in a hypothetical scenario, you're stuck at 5, and if Will Campbell's gone, and if Kelvin Banks from Texas is your guy, I mean, that's what you have to do, right? As they say, you got to do what you got to do. Now, I have been told by other people during this process that Kelvin Banks is well thought of at the Miller Electric Center. So I was not surprised when I heard that from Dilla just then. But truthfully, and I'll shoot you straight here, it's what I always try to do, and certainly make a point of doing so every night. I had not contemplated them taking Banks at 5. But if you really get down to brass tacks and think about it, all right, if they think he's the best offensive lineman on the board, and for whatever reason they don't like Jeanty or they don't like, Jalen Walker or whomever, at least at 5, if they're going best available player, would you have a problem with Kelvin Banks? You guys were so fired up about James Gladstone, right? You know you were. I think we all were. I still am. I think the guy's great. I learn something new every time I hear him talk. I'm not going to destroy him after one draft. Now, if we get to November and December and the rookies aren't performing, well, all right. But for the here and now, I am going to be within reason, right, unless something just ridiculous happens. Within reason, I think Kelvin Banks would be within reason. If that's the direction it goes, I'll be on board. Because you got to give the guy a chance. You got to give the guy an opportunity. Look, he can't be much worse. And I know we want better, but when you're comparing to Gene Smith and Dave Caldwell and Trent Baalke, it's not a very high bar that's been set as the GM of this organization for basically the last, 13, 14 years. So I'm going to believe in James Gladstone. For all of you in Gene we trust people from a decade ago, I'll do the in James we trust, at least for the here and now. And whether it is Kelvin Banks or not, I will be on board with whatever they do within reason. But I do love the opinion that Dilla gave about Banks, because that is like the one guy within reason that we haven't talked about at number 5. And if that comes to fruition Thursday night, and Roger Goodell goes to that podium and says the Jacksonville Jaguars select offensive lineman Kelvin Banks out of Texas, I'm curious as to what your reaction would be, Jaguar fans. Hit me up on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. Thank you to E. Dilla. If you missed that conversation, you can check it out at 1010XL.com on demand, or you can simply go to any of the streams, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, and you can watch it in our second segment that we had this evening. Coming up next, Rick Saratella. I have Rick on every year. I think he's one of the best. The NFL Draft Bible, allaccessfootball.com. We'll get his opinion on the Ashton Jeanty stuff. We'll get his opinion on the Mason Graham stuff. We'll get his opinion on the Kelvin Banks stuff. Rick Saratella, NFL Draft Bible, joins me next. Hacker After Dark on a Tuesday. And as always, Jacksonville, Florida. We are glad you are with us.
The roar of the crowd. The theater of your mind. It comes alive in your ears. Showtime! Jacksonville's play-by-play sports radio. 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes here with a challenge. A challenge might not be the best choice in words, so let's say an opportunity. Take the opportunity to lose 40 by the 4th with a Awaken 180. It sounds a little different when you put a real goal to it, doesn't it? Maybe you looked at the scale this morning and it read 230 pounds. How about it reading 190 by the 4th? Maybe the scale says 300. Wouldn't the number 260 be a little nicer on your eyes and on your joints? It's attainable if you have the same results we all had with Awaken 180. I dropped 40 pounds in 9 weeks. Hacker dropped his first 40 in just 6 weeks. Dempsey, Blue, and everyone else I know, same results. And we've kept it off. The best thing about Awaken 180 weight loss, it will completely change the way you think, see, and feel about food. The results are real, attainable, and the process simple with Awaken 180. Take the opportunity and drop 40 by the 4th. It all starts with just one call to Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Enjoy a great day of golf and support Eagles View Academy Athletics. Friday, May 2nd at the newly renovated Bent Creek Golf Course. 8:30 shotgun start, best ball format. Find out more at evawarriorsathletics.com.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Let AA Automotive and 1010XL guide you through the off-season. Who are Jacksonville's top prospects?
I know these players.
Listen for draft previews brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northeast Florida and Hurricane Grill and Wings.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less.
Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Direct from Broadway, MJ, the Tony Award-winning musical, is starting something all across America. Get tickets now to what the Washington Post calls a runaway hit. MJ the Musical, playing Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts, April 22nd through 27th. Tickets at fscjartistseries.org.
Spring is in the air, and it's time for cool boats at hot prices. Come to the Jacksonville Spring Boat Show, April 25th, 26th, and 27th at Metropolitan Park. Don't miss killer deals on boats and accessories, plus fishing seminars, kids events, and more. The Jacksonville Spring Boat Show, presented by Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside. Come by boat and get in free. Tickets and info at boatjacks.com. That's boatjacks.com.
Hello, Jacksonville. This is John Johnson with First Coast Recycling. We buy junk cars. If you have a car or a truck that you're looking to get rid of, then look no further. If you absolutely, positively have to get that car out of there, accept no substitutes. Fast cash is at your fingertips. Just call First Coast Recycling at 904-294-1659 today for a quick and easy quote. Come on, let's take your driveway back.
It's heating up at Ride Now Jacksonville. Get water adventure ready with the 2024 Yamaha AR195 boat. With its supercharged engine, innovative design, and water sports features, the Yamaha AR195 is ready for anything you throw at it. Originally $46,000, now just $36,000. Oversized in-floor storage for wakeboards and extra gear. Deck and hull design that maximizes space, comfort, and versatility like no other 19-foot boat. Ride Now Jacksonville on Blanding Boulevard. We'll meet or beat any price on all 2024 and prior models.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL Draft, the 5th overall pick on Thursday evening. Now, the Jaguars have 10 picks overall, but of course, all eyes are on that number 5 overall selection in round number 1. Let's talk about the Jaguars, what they may do, what they may not do, and all points in between with one of my favorites, Rick Saratella of the NFL Draft Bible and allaccessfootball.com. Rick does a terrific job covering the draft, has so for years, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Rick, happy draft week to you, man.
Yeah, Hacker, happy draft week. What's happening, man? Let's chop it up.
All right, so the Jaguars, let's begin right out the top here. The first 4, it looks like it's falling into place in some order. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Will Campbell. Is that your understanding? Do you believe that's the way the first 4 will go?
I do believe that's how it's going to unfold, yes.
And if that's the case, then the Jaguars at number 5, there's a lot of intrigue there. And I heard a lot of people earlier this week say, well, the draft may literally start at 5 because the Jaguars are holding a lot to the vest right now. And there's certainly a lot of people that are wondering what Jacksonville may do in that scenario.
Yeah, and I have Mason Graham penciled in there, Hacker, and I say with the pencil because this team, A, has a lot of needs. B, when you kind of read the tea leaves and you don't have too much to go off of other than body language, right? When you're trying to decipher these press conferences and a bunch of coach speak, they tell you a whole lot of nothing. But I think what's interesting, right, is they're looking for everybody's looking for a generational talent when you're selecting in the top 5. Does Mason Graham fit that bill? Some might say yes, some might say no. But Ashton Jeanty certainly fits that bill. And like when I see the Raiders GM up there, John Spytek, sitting next to Pete Carroll, and they get questioned about Ashton Jeanty, and Pete Carroll leans over before we answer the question and then whispers, "Hey man, can we answer that?" And that, Pete Carroll's just sitting there staring into space as this new GM is trying to win over the new media, and he's talking and I'm sitting here saying to myself, man, well, what about Jacksonville at number 5? Maybe they would love an Ashton Jeanty, right? And I wouldn't put it past the Giants to do anything crazy. Maybe they're having second thoughts about letting Saquon Barkley walk out the door. Some people have Ashton Jeanty as the best player in this draft. So could he go 3? Could he go 5? Could he go 6? I think that's where it gets intriguing.
I want to tell people all about the NFL Draft Bible. Every year you put out a very comprehensive draft guide, and I certainly love it. Let's talk about Ashton Jeanty. Do you have a player comp for him? What makes him so good in your opinion, Rick?
Well, I think what it is just the start and stop ability. He's got the footwork. He's got the strength. I kind of said in my mock draft, like Pete Carroll is probably envisioning back in the day aspirations of Marshawn Lynch. Now, I don't know if he has that breaking tackle ability like a Marshawn Lynch, but you're talking about a guy who does pick up a lot of yards after contact. Now, I will say he was treading backwards in reverse against that Penn State defense, was littered with NFL prospects. And so that does bother me a little bit. But I think when you look at the overall body of work, the production, everything, he fits the bill. He has the ideal frame, compact, can break tackles. We don't know about the time speed because he didn't run a 40-yard dash, but obviously he hasn't been caught from behind on film.
Rick Saratella of the NFL Draft Bible and All Access Football. Rick, in the time that you've been doing this, which has been years and years, explain to me and explain to the listeners here in Jacksonville, all right, it's been all Mason Graham to Jacksonville all the time for the last weeks and months, really. And then all of a sudden in the last 4 or 5 days, the Ashton Jeanty stuff has blown up here. How does something like that happen?
Well, Hacker, I think at this stage, April is the waiting season, and it's also the smokescreen season. And you've got people trying to deflect. I always love these media guys. My sources tell me, like, yeah, okay, somebody inside the war room really wants to let you know what's going on. Okay. Right? Like I talk to these NFL guys all the time. Whatever they volunteer. But, it's nothing earth-shattering. I think we try to make, and it's just like the whole Shedeur Sanders thing. You have all this time. They built the guy up for 2-3 years just to tear him down the last 2 or 3 months. But that's what we do during draft season. And, I will say this, like Mason Graham, you talk about the new Jacksonville GM there. They stole Brandon Fisk in the second round, 31-inch arms. You look at Mason Graham, 32-inch arms. He has no problem with that. You stick him in between Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen there. It makes a lot of sense. But also it makes a lot of sense with Ashton Jeanty. You got T-Law coming off the injury, maybe alleviate some of the pressure, turn around and hand it off to Jeanty. Wouldn't that be a game-changer situation as well? So I do think it's going to be between those two players.
So we've talked about Jeanty. Let's talk about Graham. I've been talking to a lot of analysts about Mason Graham, and I kind of get the comparison of Christian Wilkins a little bit for him. I mean, what is your thought about Graham as a prospect?
Well, high motor, relentless, doesn't stop coming at you, violent hands, great hand placement, creates leverage, stays low. I think, the problem that you have is just not a lot of production when you talk about being a 3-tech and getting into the backfield. Now, he does make a lot of tackles for loss. I don't know if he's like this interior sack master kind of guy that he's been built up and played up to be. I don't know if I see that, but I do see a guy who can fill the gap. He's going to be, bringing it every snap. He's a competitive guy. And, listen, he's got a high floor. Like, he's a plug-and-play starter from day one. And I only think that, at the next level, playing between guys like Jacksonville has some guys there on the edge, maybe that does allow Mason Graham to maybe use his pass rush repertoire a little bit more. But, Brandon Fisk, I think that's what you're kind of trying to envision and fit there.
Rick Saratella of the NFL Draft Bible and All Access Football. All right, so Mason Graham, Ashton Jeanty, I think you and I are in agreement that those are the two probably betting favorites at this point. All of a sudden, earlier this week, Rick, the Tet McMillan from the wide receiver from Arizona, the conversation had come back to him a little bit here in Jacksonville. Now, we had talked about McMillan a while back. It kind of tempered down a little bit. And then I think it was Todd McShay that came out with the report that Jacksonville was kind of re-entering the McMillan talk. At least that's what he's hearing. What are you hearing about McMillan in Jacksonville, and do you like him as a prospect?
Well, I've been trying to tune everything out because this guy's draft stock is a roller coaster. You're right. I had him going to the Jags about a month or two ago. I thought it made a lot of sense, but then that footage leaked in the cafeteria from a couple years back where he doesn't love football. He doesn't care about watching film, and I think that matters. I mean, I'm an old school scout. At least I consider myself to be. I've been doing this for 23 years. That rubs me the wrong way. I don't want to invest a first-round pick in a guy who doesn't like watching film, doesn't love football. What happens when I hand him millions of dollars? To me, that scares the crap out of me. And so for me, I think McMillan is going to be one who slides. I could see him almost sliding all the way out of the first round. I think wide receiver is an interesting position because I'm not sure, it's not a pressing need for a lot of teams. It's a little bit rich at number 5 for me to take one of these wide receivers. For whatever it's worth, I think Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State is the best wide receiver in this year's draft class. But, man, McMillan, to me, is a huge red flag. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Wow, I like that perspective. It's a different perspective than what we've heard. I like that. All right, so McMillan, Jeanty, Graham. Heard a little bit of talk about Jalen Walker from Georgia. I guess, the reason to hear the talk about him, Rick, is we talk about intangibles here. James Gladstone always uses the term intangibly rich. Well, in talking to people in Athens, they love this kid. One of them, somebody in Athens told me the story where Jalen Walker, who's clearly the best Georgia defensive player, they were struggling on kickoff coverage last year. So he basically went to Kirby Smart and said, put me on the blanking kickoff team because he wanted to stop the bleeding on that unit. But the question there is, with Trayvon Walker, with Joshua Hines-Allen, could you find a way to get all three of those guys on the field together?
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, that's where coaching comes into place. I mean, you got to build the defense. And that's why I believe in best player available. Never mind what you need. take the best player available. And listen, I think Jalen Walker is a wild card here, because if he doesn't go 5 to Jacksonville, I have him at number 8 to Carolina. Initially, I had pegged him as a linebacker, but I mean, I think the teams overwhelmingly like him as a pass rusher. And I think that's where he becomes an interesting piece with Jacksonville, because you could move him around. Now, you got to be careful, because you got to understand how you're going to employ a guy like that. Otherwise, you find yourself in a situation like Isaiah Simmons, where he could do everything, but you didn't have a defined role for him, and he kind of just got lost in the mix. So you got to be careful of that. But Jalen Walker, to me, is a supreme talent. I mean, you could put him after the quarterback. You can line him up as a linebacker. I guess he likes to play special teams too. I mean, there's not much this man can't do, but I do think he's in play here as a wild card. I would probably put him as the third likely option there at number 5.
And Rick, as we begin to wrap up and tell people about the NFL Draft Bible, the other 3 names that, again, I don't know how conceivable these are, but they're names that we've at least heard throughout this process for number 5. Tyler Warren from Penn State, Armand Membo from Missouri. And I got to tell you, there's people that tell me that Jacksonville might have Kelvin Banks from Texas maybe a little higher than some other teams do.
Well, I certainly do, and Banks is my top-rated tackle. I have him and Campbell neck and neck. For me, Armand Membu, I understand the athleticism, the traits, testing through the roof, and all that stuff. But go find me the guy that was talking about him. Never mind a top 10 pick. Who was even talking about this kid in the first round? You go watch the film. He's soft. You know, I don't think he has a killer instinct. He has opportunities in the second level, Hacker, where he could just pummel guys. He's like allergic to contact, this guy, Armand Membu. I mean, I don't like that pick. Tyler Warren, to me, I have him as the number 3 overall prospect. I got him as a true baby Gronk, because he's not going to hurt you in line, but this guy's an incredible offensive threat. You know, I like the Banks pick. What about a trade-up possibility if the Saints or Steelers or the Browns at 40 are trying to put together a package? Maybe somebody like Shedeur Sanders, if he slides, I could see the Saints or the Steelers maybe making a play to move up for a Shedeur Sanders. That could be in play too. So there's some possibilities, and maybe you're right. You know, the draft really might start at number 5 with Jacksonville.
When all is said and done, right, and again, we're on the doorstep of the draft. When all is said and done, the Jaguars are on the clock at number 5. If we assume it's Ward, Hunter, Carter, and Campbell are the 4 that are already gone, you said you had Mason Graham written in pencil right now. Do you think that's ultimately where it will land on Thursday night?
I do. I think that's where we're going. I mean, Graham has been kind of talked about as a top 3 prospect the entire season. And again, I think you look at the GM there, the track record that he had, the history with Brandon Fisk and Mason Graham being that caliber of type of player, it just makes a lot of sense. You know, when you're building these teams, Hacker, you want to accumulate blue chip talent, and I think Mason Graham fits that bill.
Rick, I tell people this every year. The NFL Draft Bible is such an unbelievably valued resource. You've been doing it for years. I love the podcast that you do as well. Tell people about the podcast. Tell people about the NFL Draft Bible, how they can get their hands on it, and what it's all about.
Thanks, Hacker. Yeah, go to allaccessfootball.com right now. There's still a few hours left in our draft sale. You can get the download, over 500 scouting reports. We got evaluations, one-liners, backgrounds, characters, medicals, verified measurements, pro days, anything you can dream of. Like if you're going to watch the draft, I say don't be left naked without the NFL Draft Bible. And then we're going to be doing pregame coverage throughout the week prior to the draft, 2 hours before the start of the draft each day, over on X at NFL Draft Bible. So you can find us there, and we're going to recap everything on Sunday morning. So thanks for having me on. Love chopping it up, and looking forward to seeing what the Jaguars do with this fresh start opportunity.
He's one of the best. Rick Saratella of the NFL Draft Bible. Rick, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. Let's circle back after the draft. We'll see after the dust settles how you think the Jaguars fared. Appreciate you, pal.
Absolutely. Sounds good, brother.
He was a cop and good at his job. Now he prowls the Badlands, an outlaw hunting outlaws, a bounty hunter, a renegade.
Rick Ballou. Evenings on 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent accidents and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight? But it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Sweetie, come here. Don't worry. I see a lot of patients with the exact same thing.
Ever since the ice skating rink went in next door?
Or is it more than
Dr. Clark's business is heating up.
So many patients need my help. How will I find time to see all of them?
They need to hire a scheduler, stat.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
This is the Mangler. Years of playing football coupled with lifestyle left my feet mangled with neuropathy. I was experiencing burning, tingling, and numbness. I spoke with 2 foot specialists and they told me there was no cure. They were wrong. I found Dr. Nate Riddle in Ponte Vedra. After utilizing his neuropathy treatment for only 2 weeks, I noticed a difference in my feet. I was regaining my feeling and balance. If you want relief from nerve pain, call Dr. Nate for a free consultation at Riddle Wellness, 904-395-5598.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
If you're tired of weekend projects turning into weekend disasters, you're not alone. Building a fence isn't as easy as it looks. And let's face it, your neighbor still hasn't fixed his lopsided masterpiece. But Superior Fence and Rail makes it easy. Highly trained professionals, top quality materials, and a fence you'll love for years to come. Skip the stress and call the pros today.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
NBA playoffs tonight. Indiana 101-91 over Milwaukee. 10.5 minutes to go. Pacers looking to take a 2-0 lead in that series. Likewise, the Thunder up 1-0 in the series over Memphis. They also lead the game 2 tonight, 86-72. About 4 minutes to go in the third. Looking to take a 2-0 series lead there. Coming up at 10 o'clock tonight, probably a must-win for the Lakers. They've already lost home court. You can't lose 2 home playoff games and think you're going to win the series. They play Minnesota tonight, 10 o'clock, out in Los Angeles. That game is on TNT. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network coming up in less than 10 minutes. Also, Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. You know, I didn't realize, and shame on me, that Chicago has 2 pretty high second-round picks. Chicago has number 10. They also have number 39 and number 41. So if you're Jacksonville, and I did one of those trade chart things, the points would even out if Jacksonville gave Chicago number 5 and number 107 for Chicago's 10 and 39. But because Chicago has 39 and 41, I almost think Jacksonville has a little more leverage there. If Chicago really wants Ashton Jeanty, well, then maybe I'm not including 107. Maybe I get 10 and 39. I give you 5. And heck, if you're Jacksonville, ask for something else. Ask for a 5th or 6th rounder on top of that. We'll see how bad Chicago wants Ashton Jeanty. That's the latest rumor. Who knows what the rumor is going to be an hour from now? Who knows what Jacksonville is going to do in less than 48 hours? But it sure makes it fun. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network will continue the draft conversation when it comes to Jacksonville, when it comes to Mason Graham, Ashton Jeanty, all points in between. Ryan Fowler, the Draft Network, next, right here on Hacker After Dark.
The Frangie Show will recap the Jags draft picks live at Mr. Chubby's Wings Friday from 4 to 6. Join us for 2-for-1 pints and pitchers or $3 wines and wells this Friday at Mr. Chubby's in Ponte Vedra.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
Florida heat is no joke. Is your air conditioner ready for it? At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. One of our expert techs will come look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it's running at peak performance. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
All right, fellas, I got to brag a little. I'm down 40 pounds thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss and keeping it off.
That's cute, Matt. I'm down 110 pounds. That's like losing a Backstreet Boy.
Okay, so I'm the rookie here. I just started, but I'm already down 13 pounds, and let me tell you, it feels good to see the results already.
That's the thing, man. Awaken 180 works. No shots, no meds, no gimmicks, just real food, real support, and real results.
The support team is a game changer because we all know it's so easy to get distracted. But with Awaken 180, you get your own coach and a plan that works with your lifestyle.
And free support for life.
Plus, no gym workouts required, which is great because let's be honest, I wasn't running wind sprints either.
25, 40, even 110 pounds. If we all can do it, so can you. Call 844-346-1800 or visit awaken180weightloss.com.
That's 844-346-1800 or awaken180weightloss.com.
The best teal-colored coverage includes Mia's quick hits.
Get the latest news from inside the building and around the league. I'm Mia O'Brien, 1010XL's NFL Insider.
Driven by Arlington Toyota. Available on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Friendly competition meets great futures. It's the Birdies and Bounces Tournament presented by the Mackenzie Noel Wilson Foundation Friday, May 9th at the Yards. Where else can a pickleball tournament, 15 holes of golf, food, fun, beverages, raffles, and great activities help a worthy organization like the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida, where 59 clubs serve nearly 6,000 youth daily. For tickets and team registration, email Charlie C. at bgcnf.org.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
What NFL stadium has been used the longest by an NFL team?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Green Bay's Lambeau Field has been used by the Packers since 1957, a span of over 60 years.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com. Powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NFL Draft comes up this Thursday night up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The Jaguars currently have 10 draft picks overall, and all eyes are at number 5 on Thursday night in round number 1. Let's talk about what the Jaguars may or may not do, and let's do it with a guy we've had on for a long time, a buddy Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Excited to get this thing going, man, and always appreciate you having me on.
Ryan, I know you're busy, especially this week. Thank you. And for a guy that's done this as long as you have, what is this week like? I mean, you've studied this draft class for months and months, heck, probably over a year ago now, and it finally begins to come to fruition on Thursday.
Yeah, look, it's a long process. It started back last May, a couple weeks after we wrapped up the 2024 class, and it's a great group. Some people will say it's not deep, it's not talented, it's top heavy, and all those things can be true in certain aspects. But I think really the sweet spot in this draft, is rounds 2 to 5, 5 to 6. I think there's a lot of good players in this class, Ryan. We're going to find some core starters, some core contributors in multiple phases of the game, whether that's offense and special teams, defense and special teams. There's a lot of good ball players that are going to be found. And when you look at the Jaguars' perspective and the type of players that they're looking for and what James Gladstone wants to bring in the building, they're going to find some guys to be able to contribute right away and trust their football staff. So really excited to get going on this thing. There's a lot of good ball players going to get some good opportunities here in the next few days.
Ryan, when it comes to the Jaguars, some people are saying now that that's really where the draft starts at number 5. There appears to be some clarity above them. Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2, Abdul Carter probably 3. I guess Will Campbell, right? At least that's the idea coming out of New England. Is that what your belief is right now?
Yeah, you're right on it. I do think that's what's going to be the top 4 right now. I think if there's anything that will change, it could be that 2-3 with Carter and Hunter. That's going to be a really interesting spot to watch. The last few weeks, there's been some conversations, of course, with the Shedeur Sanders stuff. I really don't think that's going to be a possibility, even inside the top 10 for a team, for even a team like New Orleans. But when you look at what the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to do, there's been a ton of buzz, of course, for months surrounding Mason Graham within the interior. But really, since the combine, as far as what Ashton Jeanty could be immediately for this offense, I'm always in support of drafting best player available. And when you look at the Jaguars as far as, what they could be right away with Ashton Jeanty in this offense, where there is talent already along the defensive line for them within the front 7. I just think right now, if I had to guess, Ryan, I would say Ashton Jeanty is the pick there at 5. It's not Mason Graham. And I just think right now where you have Tank Bigsby, you have Travis Etienne, but at the end of the day, you don't not draft a player like an Ashton Jeanty, whose ability to break tackles is unlike anything I've seen enter the NFL really since the Saquon Barkley type out of Penn State. So I just think that's where the Jaguars are going to go right now at 5, adding a player like Ashton Jeanty there in the top 10.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. I want to get to all of those guys that you mentioned, but Ryan, in your experience covering the draft, how does something like this happen? Like you said, it's been Mason Graham for the last, weeks and months even, and then all of a sudden in the last 3 or 4 days, the Ashton Jeanty talk has popped up out of nowhere. Now, my question is always about things like this. It is smokescreen season, right? Mm-hmm. Is that being leaked on purpose? Is there legitimate legs to it? I mean, it's interesting, the dynamic that has changed here in the last 72 hours or so.
Yeah, it's absolutely a part of the process. This is the exact time, Ryan, as you know, man, these last few days heading up to this thing, a lot of teams are saying certain things, and you've got to really sift through the smoke to try to find that fire. And a lot of it, I feel like, in this class where there really has been no consensus beyond really Cam Ward to the Titans since the combine and since they canceled their workout with Shedeur Sanders. There's been a lot of questions. But I think when you look at specifically with Jacksonville and Ashton Jeanty, where there has been no new football played. We haven't seen Mason Graham in the Michigan uniform or helmet, at a Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl, or Jeanty in a Boise State helmet down there, any of those events as well. But also, there's others around the industry that talk to people. And if I'm talking to the same person that person's talking to, and they're hearing the same things that are coming out of there, usually some of that stuff starts to gain some legs a little bit, and those tea leaves really start to showcase themselves. So here we are, just whatever it is, 80, 85 hours away from this thing. And as of right now, it used to be, hey, Mason Graham, absolutely to the Jacksonville Jaguars. There really is a parallel between him and Ashton Jeanty right now.
For the record, I'm still on the Mason Graham side of things as far as what I want the Jaguars to do. We'll get to him in a moment, but let's talk about Jeanty because he's getting all the talk. Ryan, I was in the media pre-draft luncheon with James Gladstone and Liam Cohen last week. I was in that room, and when Gladstone was asked about making his first pick as the Jaguar GM, it kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit when his answer was, I'm paraphrasing here, he was asked about kind of putting his stamp on the team team, making his first pick. And he said, yeah, that thought has crossed his mind. The first time he's ever going to send a card in as the Jaguar general manager, kind of setting the tone for what's to come. And if you have an opportunity to swing for the fence in your first time at bat as the Jaguar GM, swinging for the fence would, of course, be Ashton Jeanty. I would think that would be a hard proposition to pass up. And again, I think Jacksonville, Ryan, is better than their 4-13 record last year would indicate. I don't know how many more times they're going to be picking in the top 5 in the next couple of years. And if you have an opportunity to take a Jeanty, now you might strike out, right? But you might hit a home run as well. When he said that, about the first pick he's ever going to make as a Jaguar GM, that certainly got my attention.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think also when you look at this class, for me, even with the running back position, I'll go out and say this. It's not that, I would take an Amari Hampton over an Ashton Jeanty at a 5. I'm just trying to talk about, hey, this is what I think will happen from the NFL side of things. Because for me, both those players I have a lot of parallels with both those guys. There really isn't major separation as far as Jeanty to Hampton, or even you move back to a Travion Henderson, and we may see 4 running backs come off the board in round 1. But also when you look at Jacksonville to say, hey, we're going to move away from the Mason Graham type of train to where we look at the capital that we've added along the front 7 with the Trayvon Walkers of the world, and paying a guy like Josh Hines-Allen, and last year adding guys like Mason Smith and Jordan Jefferson. And so there's players there, even a late day 3 guy like a Miles Cole. So I agree with you as far as maybe it's shy away from not stepping up to the plate and just swinging as hard as you can on Ashton Jeanty. But in today's day and age where you need an absolute game changer in the backfield, these teams want to live and play too high and turn around for Trevor Lawrence to take the pressure off of him 25 times a game, and an offensive line that still has some questions, but I think absolutely they're better than what you said as far as their record. I would fully agree with you. It makes for good business. It makes for a lot of good drama. And for James Gladstone's, a part of his process to where I want to get a guy in the building right away to make a high-level impact and just get a guy that fits what we want to do. Is it Ashton Jeanty? Is it Mason Graham? I think both those guys right away, bottom line, Ryan, fill a need, and also expect them to be potential perennial Pro Bowlers, all-pro type of players wherever they land.
A couple more for Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, back to Mason Graham. That's the camp that I'm still in right now. And I made this point last week. Look, some people want the sexy, glamorous selection in April. They want to be excited, right? A guy that you draft that makes you want to call the season ticket office the following Monday. And I get that. And Jacksonville's done that for quite a bit of time, and look where it's gotten them, right? Hadn't really gotten them anywhere. Mason Graham, to me, would be considered the boring pick. But if a boring pick in April allows you to win games in September and October and November, boy, sign me up. And from that standpoint, I look at Mason Graham, and to me, Ryan, it just makes too much sense for Jacksonville not to select him at number 5.
I love Mason Graham. I really do. And I think you hit the nail on the head as far as describing who Mason Graham is. Bottom line, he does not look like a Michael Williams or a Jalen Walker in this class, or the impressive frame of a Tatora McMillan at the receiver position saying, man, that's a guy that's a top 5 pick. He doesn't look like that at 6'3", 300 pounds. That's just not Mason Graham. But at the end of the day, when you turn on his tape, this is someone right away, bottom line, that if you throw along this Jaguars defensive front, you will not be able to block him in isolation. And are you choosing to block Trayvon Walker one-on-one or Josh Hines-Allen? Because that's a pick your poison. And bottom line, you have to win the trenches. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles can speak to that as far as what they did to the Kansas City Chiefs. And really, you can even look back to what Tampa Bay did in the prior years in the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So winning the line of scrimmage is still something that goes overlooked every single year, whether it's on offense, whether on defense, because like you said, you want to get players, and some teams want to add the guy that puts butts in seats. And sometimes that can be good. Sometimes it can be very bad for a long, long time. But adding a guy like Mason Graham is not the sexy addition, but he is the guy that not only will help you win games now, but when you look back on this thing 5, 6, 7 years, and he potentially becomes a top 3 player from this class, which is you're asking him to be that in a top 5 pick here, that's someone that you want in your roster and along this defensive front where you can absolutely wreak havoc from day one. So that's what you're going to get right away from Mason Graham.
Ryan, Mason Graham and Ashton Jeanty appear to be getting all the talk. If there is a third guy in the equation, I would go to Athens, Georgia, and I would talk about Jalen Walker. And look, I get it. They have Trayvon Walker. They have Hines Allen. You'd have to figure that part out. But every time James Gladstone goes in front of a microphone, he talks about intangibly rich, bringing in intangibly rich guys into our ecosystem here in Jacksonville. And I know you've talked to people in Athens. I've talked to people in Athens. Those people love Jalen Walker. I was told a story where Georgia was struggling on kickoff coverage. Walker's the best player on defense. He apparently went to Kirby Smart and essentially said, put me on the blanking kickoff team, because he wanted to go help out a unit that was struggling. You know, a leader of leaders, if you will, is how one guy described him to me. From that standpoint, I think Jalen Walker might be the third guy in the equation Jacksonville would consider at number 5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's a little bit of a tweener for me. 6'1", 245 is likely what he'll play at, maybe even a little bit lighter. But I think that's a good thing, because I think he's someone that right away, when you look across football as far as getting guys on the field, all 11 guys have to be athletes. This is not the day and age where you just get a Vince Wilfork and plug him in at damn near 400 pounds and just say, just live in the middle and not do anything else. You got to have guys that can align versatile, they can stand up, they can put their hand in the dirt. Jalen Walker can stand up over the center. He can put his hand in the dirt outside. The tight end is a wide 9. He can drop in coverage. He can chase down a quarterback as a fringe area defender. And then, like you just said, and I'm glad you mentioned it, as far as, hey, put me on the kickoff return team as a guy that's just a guy that wants to go make plays, and a guy that, hey, one of these headliners in a class for a team that's going to be a first rounder. You don't see a guy flying down with his hair on fire making plays on the kickoff team. So that's a player I want in my locker room. You mentioned it as far as Gladstone with the intangibly rich type of players. He said that at the Combine as well. Jalen Walker fits all of those things. He fits the mold as a modern-day hybrid front 7 defender. And I think if there is a guy to surprise, even if Mason Graham and Ashton Jeanty are still on the board, I would say him. But I would also say a guy that I still love in this process that may be lower. It's still Michael Williams from Georgia. The potential is off the charts with him. And if he can just see that light bulb really metaphorically click in his head, he could be the most dominant player. That includes an Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, really the most dominant player coming from this draft class.
Interesting. Final moments, Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. You might have just answered this question, but I'll ask you anyway. If we assume, Ryan, that it's Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Will Campbell are off the board, I think it's safe to say I would feel pretty good about taking Jeanty, Graham, and Walker and giving you the field, and I would feel pretty good about my 3 guys being, one of them being in the next Jaguar. But in our hypothetical, is there a 4th guy, whether it is an Armand Membo, a Tyler Warren, a Tet McMillan, a Marcus Golden? Is there anybody else that you would think would garner consideration for that number 5 pick, not named Jeanty, Walker, or Graham?
I think it's high for a Jahdae Barron, but I don't see him getting past 13 from away from the Dolphins. He is someone that they absolutely love and is someone that is loved within league circles as far as a top 15 guy. And I'll say it again, Ryan, I can't look at one of these players that's, projected to be really top 20 guys to say, hey, this guy won't go here or he couldn't go here. Because at the end of the day for Jacksonville, I sat here and talked to you about how I really like a Jerrion Jones and I still like Tyson Campbell, but I still think there's some more pop that's needed in the secondary. Is that even saying, would I be afraid of taking a Will Johnson at 5? I think a healthy Will Johnson, I think he's a guy that's absolutely a top 10 player in this class. I think he's one of the technically elite defenders overall in this class and really one of the best corners to enter the draft here in the last 2-3 years. So I think if there's a group of guys behind Graham, behind Jeanty, behind Walker, I would throw in Michael Williams. I would throw in Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, and Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. I'm glad you mentioned those names. There's a lot of discourse, Ryan, with teams as far as really who is their tight end 1. Some teams say Mason Taylor. Some teams say Colston Loveland. Some teams say Tyler Warren. So it's also going to be really, really fun to see who is really truly tight end 1 and tight end 2 in this class when we get to the back end of night 1.
Ryan, I want to talk about the website and what you guys have coming up at the Draft Network, but quick final thought from you. What does it say about James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, and the new management here in Jacksonville, that here we are just, hours before the draft on Thursday night, and people seemingly don't have a clue what they're going to do? I mean, that's pretty impressive, is it not?
It is. It is tight lips. you got to have them in this day and age where social media, of course, is so prevalent, and I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to add players that we talked about it, intangibly rich, but also guys right away that are not going to come in and just wear a jersey and steal a paycheck. You're going to come in and compete in a variety of ways. Doesn't matter if you're a Mason Graham at 5, or it doesn't matter if you're a guy in the 6th, 7th round that comes in potentially with some traits that they like, and you're asked to play on special teams right away. So I love what the Jaguars are doing in the offseason to where, look, they're coming in and they're trying to get football players, bottom line. They're not also drafting guys to say, hey, we want you here for 4 years. We want you here for 5, 6, 7 years to get you on a second contract. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jacksonville really does in adding immediate ball players, contributors in all 3 phases of the game.
Ryan, tell us about the Draft Network and the coverage you guys will have as we head into Thursday night up in Green Bay.
Yeah, lots of stuff all weekend long. Audio, video, written content every day. I know post round 1, I'll have my top 30 players ready and available on the Draft Network site. That'll be published probably an hour after night 1 is finished up. I'll have a round 4 mock draft following day 2. And then also following day 3, when all the 262 whatever selections are completed, I will also have tons and tons of UDFA news from sources around the league that I'll be breaking on my X at _Ryan Fowler. So lots to come here this week, Ryan.
He's one of our favorites, Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, thank you for being so gracious with your time this entire process. Let's circle back in a week or 2 after the dust is settled, and we'll get your thoughts on how the Jaguars fared. Really appreciate you, my friend.
Of course. Thanks as always, Ryan.
Some people call it Jax. Some call it the First Coast. We call it
the place that we all call home.
1010XL.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Charles.
6.
Oh, so close. Betty for the steal.
What about the bank that helps you reach your financial goals? Synovus.
Let's see, judges. Yes, looks like we have a winner.
That's a number?
Sorry, Charlie. Remember, a solid financial future doesn't happen by chance. Talk with Synovus about your potential today. Brought to you by Synovus Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. The number was 4.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies cold case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case. Plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the king of beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Hi, I'm Jeff Breyer, president of Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
And I'm Zach Breyer. When my dad started in business in 1990, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true. And after 35 years and nearly 20,000 satisfied customers, we literally have a showroom in every neighborhood.
So whether you need more outdoor living space with a glass or screen enclosure, or you're looking to transform your home with new flooring, we've got you covered.
Visit our websites, or better yet, do yourself a favor and stop by one of our showrooms on Phillips Highway to experience the Lifetime difference and receive 20% off your purchase.
Cooking with Crisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a roll.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. Went smooth as silk. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
Hey guys, it's that time of year again. The home team is looking for new players on the field, and you're looking to get that old car or truck out of your driveway. I can help. This is John Johnson over at First Coast Recycling. We buy junk cars. Draft us to buy your old car or truck for fast cash. Just call 904-294-6000 1659 for a quick and easy quote from First Coast Recyclers. Come on, let's take your driveway back. It's heating up at Ride Now Jacksonville. Get water adventure ready with the 2024 Yamaha AR195 boat. With its supercharged engine, innovative design, and water sports features, the Yamaha AR195 is ready for anything you throw at it. Originally $46,000, now just $36,000. Oversized in-floor storage for wakeboards and extra gear. Deck and hull design that maximizes space, comfort, and versatility like no other 19-foot boat. Ride Now Jacksonville on Blanding Boulevard. We'll meet or beat any price on all 2024 and prior models.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home this week at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. The Jumbo Shrimp take on the AAA Atlanta Braves. Tomorrow is our first Wear It Home Wednesday. Free t-shirts to the first 500 fans. Courtesy of Renewal by Anderson and Better Health. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. Affordable family fun.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Visit sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting! Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. All eyes are on the NFL Draft Thursday night. Of course, that's when it starts. It will continue Friday and Saturday. The Jaguars, 10 picks overall. A lot of college football players will see their dreams come true there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We will certainly spend some time on that. Florida loses Denzel Aberdeen to a conference rival, which is really interesting, and a big-time meeting going on out in Dallas about the college football playoff and the future of said playoff. There's a ton to get into with that. Let me welcome in my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News, and you get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Mr. Beard, how are you, sir?
Well, happy draft week. We certainly have the draft, but there are also things going on. The football portal, but probably a lot of people are happy about this, ends this week, or at least for this round. And it actually ends on Friday. The basketball portal ends Tuesday. So we've got both of those out of the way, and maybe we can get back to a little bit of normalcy after that. And we're also basically a month and 1 day for the first college football preseason magazine. How about that?
Oh, Brent Beard will be going nuts in the month of May. There is no question about that. I want to talk to you about the basketball portal in a moment when it comes to Denzel Aberdeen. But before we get there, anybody that's listened to Brent Beard over the years, you're a college football guy through and through. There is no doubt about that. But the NFL draft, Brent, comes up Thursday night. Cam Ward projected to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Do you, as a college football encyclopedia, do you get into the NFL draft? Will you watch it this weekend?
Oh, now I have, the first round always intrigues me. And then we get into the second, and then you get kind of numb to, well, this guy's a tweener, he's got a great upside. This is his 40 dash numbers. This is his vertical leap. I mean, at some point that kind of gets old, frankly, but I mean, it's always fascinating. I don't have any doubt the SEC will dominate again. I mean, look, I've seen mock drafts. I'm sure you have too, where once it gets going again, I mean, Will Campbell from LSU will be one of the highest picks. But the reality is, this league has so much talent. That's the reason it's really the best league in the country. Much to the chagrin of the Big Ten, I get that, winning championships. But that's a fascinating thing about it too.
Brent, there's a lot of Ashton Jeanty talk here in Jacksonville from some national media. That appears to be the trend right now. I'm not of that opinion. I still think it's probably going to land on Mason Graham. But for the sake of the conversation, I know you're very familiar with Jeanty. You're a Heisman voter. You obviously considered him very much from what he did at Boise State last year. What do you think of Jeanty as a pro prospect?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are going to say, would he be, did he play a strong enough schedule to really know that? I mean, the guy, it can be frankly, a real force and a great weapon. So, I mean, they could do a lot worse if they get him. But heck, look, I'll be honest with you, I don't get that. They've got to go offensive line. I know it's not sexy. I know people don't like it, but you've got a $55 million quarterback. If you can't protect him, it really doesn't matter who the running backs and the wide receivers are. So I get the flirtation with Jeanty, a tremendous prospect, tremendous player, but at the same time, they've got needs all over the place. And they can find running backs later in the draft.
Brent, final draft question. Another guy you're very familiar with is Cam Ward from his time, obviously, Miami, Washington State. Heck, you go back to Incarnate Word. He made the rounds in college football. He's going to be the number 1 pick, it appears, to the Tennessee Titans. And, of course, that means the Jaguars are going to have to play Cam Ward twice a year for the foreseeable future. What is your thought on Cam Ward at the next level?
Well, and the thing with the Titans is that, like Jacksonville, they've got to get an offensive line to protect him. I mean, I like Ward. I thought he did. He was a Johnny Manziel type guy at times. I mean, obviously he was taller, but he was the Johnny Manziel type with his being able to escape pressure. The thing I like about Ward is what he can do with his arm. I mean, he throws at different arm angles and I mean, I think at some point he will be a really good NFL quarterback. I mean, I've got some friends in Nashville, and I know they talk about this, that he compares maybe to Steve McNair, who is with the Titans. I'm not saying that will be the case, but at the same time, his accuracy and his mobility make him a really good pick. Now, I'll throw another one in here just for fun, is I know Jalen Milroe from Alabama is all over the map, and he's going to be at the draft. Heck, I'm just telling you, now I'm not saying someone can't take a risk on him early, but man, oh man, I mean, if you're Milroe, do you want to be there and go through another situation like we've seen before, to where you drop and drop and drop, and at some point it gets embarrassing, doesn't it?
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. I agree. I'm actually surprised not only Milroe, but some other guys that will actually be in attendance. But heck, if the NFL invites you, you want to take your family up there, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, no question about that. All right, Brent, boy, a head-scratcher for me. We talked about the transfer portal when it comes to basketball. Denzel Aberdeen, who was a big fixture on the Gator National Championship team, the first guy off the bench, certainly in the backcourt, was the fourth of the guards, but still had a vital role for the Gators. Now that Elijah Martin and Will Richard and Walter Clayton are leaving, it was thought Aberdeen was going to be the guy in the backcourt. He ups and enters the portal and heads to Kentucky, and I get it. It's about money. I mean, that's obviously what it's about. But Aberdeen, looking at Kentucky's depth chart, is probably not going to start in Lexington, which that's odd to me why you would do that. If the money was in the same neighborhood, why you would not want to start for the defending national champions and instead go to Lexington, where, again, you looks like you're probably going to be coming off the bench.
Look, this is a real puzzle. Don't get this either. I mean, you're leaving the best program in the SEC, and you're going to, I'm not going to say Kentucky's the middle of the pack. Kentucky's not what they used to be. I get the name on the jersey, but with the depth they've got that's coming back, to your point, and here's the other thing. I'm not saying Florida's going to repeat yet. We don't know that, but I mean, you could go to Florida and you could play 6 more games, 5 more games, at least 4 more games than you would if you were at Kentucky. If you want playing time, it's there. I have no doubt that Florida would have either met or came close to probably what they were looking at Kentucky. So I'm with you. I'm hopefully he'll do well. Got to appreciate what he did for the team and being one of those 3 guards who were great. But this may be a situation where he regrets at some point.
A couple more for Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. All right, Brent, all the talk about the NFL draft. Well, in the world of college football, some pretty big meetings ongoing out in Dallas when it comes to the future of the college football playoff.
Yeah, this is important. They start on Tuesday and go for 3 days to where the college football powers, the officials, the commissioners, and bowl people and TV people will be involved with this. So don't think that is not very important, because it is. There are 3 things here they really need to decide, and we'll kind of narrow it down to this. Are you going to go with the seedings like you did in 24, or the thing the commissioners, particularly Greg Sankey of the SEC and Tony Petitti of the Big Ten, what they want to do is, look, you've got this top 25 on Tuesday night, ESPN. It's must-watch television, according to them. Well, why don't they just go straight up and use the seedings that they've got, and they go to all the trouble to do? That's what they didn't do in the postseason last year, and that's one of the reasons you've got Boise State and teams like that who actually got a bye and were treated with royalty. A lot of people were griping about that. So that's one thing they've got to deal with. The other thing, and this is not going to be easy, but will every league, including Notre Dame, sign an agreement that basically gives the SEC and the Big Ten autonomy in the decisions that are made? That's going to be interesting. And what's the next format going to be? Okay, we're at 12. We'll be at 12 this year or next January. But soon after that, from 26 to 31, because that's what the next contract extends to. Heck, will they go to 14 or will they go to 16? So that's going to be quite the discussion. They'll talk about a lot of other stuff, But those are the three main things they've got to decide.
And Brent, I think what you said is important for the 2025 season. The hay is in the barn, right? Nothing's going to change. Everything they're discussing this week would start revolving around 2026, not 2025.
Yeah, well, I'll throw a caveat with this because, they've always got one, don't they, Hack? The caveat is this. If they actually want to change something, it's got to be unanimous. And right now, I don't see a lot of unanimous votes here. Now, the reason that's going to be different is starting in 26, it's going to be a majority, not unanimous. So that can make a real difference. But your point's a good one, is we think it will basically remain the same unless they just all decide we've got to tweak this, and if they do it unanimously, they will change it then.
Final moments with Brent Beard. Brent, leave us with this. Very rarely in the world of college football, even in the portal era, do you see essentially a trade. But that's kind of what happened between UCLA and Tennessee. They basically swapped quarterbacks here in the last week.
Maybe one of the more bizarre things that we've ever seen, frankly. We certainly know about Nico going to UCLA, which is fascinating. The reality, too, is now here's the other thing for Nico, is Nico's used to playing in front of 100,000 in Neyland Stadium. Well, he's going to the Rose Bowl with UCLA, where they may have 20,000 on a good day.
He'll play in front of 100,000 seats. They won't all be full, though.
Yeah. yeah, really. Thank you. But Joey Aguilar, who went to UCLA from Appalachian State and was going to be the starter, now is going to Tennessee. And then obviously Nico going to UCLA. And also to your point, Nico's little brother, shall we say, is going from Arkansas to UCLA also. So that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's what we've got. And right now, and his name is Madden, just like John Madden from the game and from the analyst on television. But Madden is a freshman quarterback that is transferring. He is 6'3", 191. Again, the younger brother of Nico. So just when you think you've seen it all, something else happens in college football.
Crazy times with the portal, and as Brent said, the portals are actually coming to an end this week for both basketball and football. You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, enjoy the draft. If the Jaguars land any SEC prospects, we'll certainly review those next week. Always appreciate you, my friend.
You too, brother. Take care.
And thank you to my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark as the NFL Draft Week is upon us with that college football meeting going on out in Dallas regarding the future of the playoff, the Denzel Aberdeen transfer. Certainly a lot to get into, and we certainly appreciate Brent taking time out for us tonight. We spent some time on that, but as you can imagine, it was an overwhelming majority on the NFL Draft. Now well inside of 48 hours away from round number 1 Thursday night. The Jaguars currently sit at number 5. Will that last? Could they go up? Could they go down? Will they be locked in to number 5? We'll have to wait and see, and we're going to find out very, very soon what ultimately will happen. Well, that will just about do it, man. It has been a crazy busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Again, we have a ton of people to thank. My buddy Brent Beard, you see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. Thank you to Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan's been one of my guys for years. Certainly appreciate everything he's done with us here on Hacker After Dark. mark through this draft process. Another guy I've had on for years is Rick Saratella, the NFL Draft Bible and All Access Football. Always appreciate the conversation with Rick. And back in hour number 1, E. Dilla, Eric Dillard. You know him as E. Dilla on social media. Boy, Dilla let some things fly tonight here in the 8 o'clock hour. Is Kelvin Banks potentially the guy at number 5 if Jacksonville cannot get out of there? It's a guy we haven't talked a lot about. Maybe we should start talking a little more about. Kelvin Banks from Texas. Jacksonville potentially making calls to move up or down to get out of 5. Again, should be very interesting. If you missed the conversation with Dilla, you can check it out at 1010XL.com on demand, or if you go watch the broadcast back on the streams, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc., you will be able to check out that conversation I had with E. Dilla. We will be back tomorrow night. On a Wednesday, it will be NFL Draft Eve, and we are certainly looking forward to that, beginning at 8 o'clock, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM.